Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Noah from PhoneDog.com. This is part two of our my two-part review, I should say, of Apple's iPad, because we may get another take on it from Adriana or one of the other editors. No, Adriana's got one. Been doing coverage on the site and over on today's iPhone. Anyway, part one of my review took a look more at the industrial design, form factor, styling, features or lack of features on the iPad. This part's going to take a look more at the software and the actual experience of using it. And again, I'll kind of summarize here to say what I said when I started the review, the part one of the review, that basically, as of right now, I don't think, the iPad isn't going to replace a laptop or a computer or a smartphone for anybody, and it's not something that anybody, I think at this point is going to feel like they need the way that people feel like they need a phone or a smartphone to stay in touch or a computer to do work as well as to stay in touch. But a lot of people, I think, are going to want this, and I found the experience of using this thing to be great for what it is. And it certainly has holes and flaws and everything, but Apple's made no bones about saying, to them this isn't about specs and features, it's about the experience. And I think that's absolutely true. I've been using it for several days now, doing separate app reviews, so you can check those out, video and written, but, I've been using it to watch videos and surf the web and email and tweet and read things and the book reader and all that kind of stuff. And, it's fast, the battery life is phenomenal. 10 hours of use easily. I've been using it for several days now, kind of fairly heavily, but kind of off and on, and I haven't recharged yet, done a 13% here, but that's over 3 days of fairly heavy use. Heard people saying they're getting 11 hours of video playback, and I'd believe it. The chip, it's a custom Apple A4 1 gigahertz chip. And the chip is, it's fast, it's responsive, apps open quickly, you hit an app, you load it up. There's the web browser. The multi-touch is terrific. It's very responsive. The accelerometer works. As I showed you before, there's a lock button on the side if you want to lock the screen in. It doesn't support Flash, the browser, so you're going to miss certain content. You're just going to get these white boxes, and that's definitely a big deal to some people as well. It should be. And the whole thing with Apple and Adobe and Flash and HTML5, now Google's getting involved, saying that Flash is going to be default in the Chrome OS and everything. That is what it is, and I will not profess to know the reasons behind all of that. It's business stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And it's too bad, because as of right now, there still is a lot of content out there on the web that's powered by Flash. But so YouTube video, hit the button, it plays inline now, which is kind of nifty. And, for stuff that's supported, it looks great, it sounds great. Works really well. What can I tell you? You can go out into full screen mode there, and
Now today I got a pretty interesting package arrived,
and there you go, high-speed scrubbing, the whole thing. It's great. More on the video, in that other video I did looking at iTunes and Netflix and the ABC player, but a lot of video apps out there already, and more to come. And I think that's the other thing with the device, is that it's going to be, as much about the apps as anything else. Apple was trying to tout this as the best web experience out there, which I don't know that that's necessarily true. I do think it's a good web experience. It's nothing that you haven't seen before for the most part, on a computer or on a laptop, that kind of thing. If you're the kind of person who's into just, features and what can it do, and the experience and the user interface isn't that important to you, then this isn't for you. But the thing about it that I've found, and that, the whole thing with Apple products, I think, and where this gets to be a big deal, is that using it is very fun. It's very intuitive. It's very simple. It's just the one button, and it's fun and it works well. And the size is really handy for taking around and using for different things. We'll go. Typing on it is it is what it is. It's not. It's doable. It's not. Horrible, but it's certainly not great. You can type in either mode. In either landscape or portrait mode. I have relatively large hands, and so two-thumb typing for me in this mode actually works fine. Filming part 2 of the iPad review video. So, I'm able to do it. I have to stretch a little bit. People with smaller hands aren't going to like that. And then typing in widescreen mode here. Oh, I think I have to, yeah, okay. This is where it gets a little funny because it's going to be too large for most people to do two-thumb typing like this. You certainly can hunt and peck. That's going to get frustrating. Then actually trying to touch type on this thing. It's not ideal for sure. And this is where you're going to want to have something like a stand or, something to kind of, irony, we'll use a Verizon phone to prop this up. That's probably a little bit too far. We'll try this box. Is a little bit thinner, probably too, a little too much as well. You're going to have something to kind of prop it up at a better typing angle, and that's where they upsell you on a case and the whole thing. And so, that may be an issue for some people. That not being able to type on this thing means you're not going to be able to get a lot of work done on it, and that's going to be a deal breaker. And I absolutely get that. But if you're doing casual stuff, not a whole lot of typing, or if you can adapt, if your hands are large or I suppose small enough to adapt to the on-screen keyboard, then maybe you're going to be somebody who's going to get a ton of use out of this. And there are already, Apple has the iWork suite available, and other document creation apps and notes and stuff like that. So maybe you will be able to get the use out of it. Or iBooks is Apple's sort of Kindle killer, their e-reader app, and it works pretty well. I just read a little bit. I downloaded this sample. When you go to, so you've got your library here, and it comes with Winnie the Pooh for free, and then you can buy books from the iBooks store here, and it loads up. And I downloaded a sample. A lot of these books you can get a sample of the book for free. So I downloaded a sample of this book called Uglies by Scott Westerfeld, there you go. And it works well. It's pretty easy to read. It looks like a book. It's not the e-ink technology. So on the one hand, not going to do as well in direct sunlight, and arguably it's going to be a little harder on the eyes than e-ink. On the other hand, you don't need a light to read it. So if you're reading, like in bed or somewhere that's dark, you don't need a book light because the screen is backlit and it works. The typical Apple touches with the little animation of the screen or of the page turning and that kind of thing, or you can just tap or swipe. And then you go into this mode and you have, 2 pages at once, and you can change the font, the font itself and the size and everything. You can search for things and all that. And then, keep your books on the bookshelf. Like I said, Winnie the Pooh comes for free, and it's got the illustrations and everything. And, it's neat. It looks good. I actually am more of a magazine reader than a book reader at this point, which perhaps is a little bit sad, but it's kind of where I'm at right now. So I downloaded a few magazines. Popular Science, I'd heard a lot of good things about. The iPad version, and then Time as well. I'll get into a separate full review of those. The thing with these magazines, the Popular Science one is pretty heavy on the design. Both of these now were like $5 to download, which is way too much for one issue of a magazine, but those prices will come down in due time. But the Popular Science one, kind of cool because you can turn the text on and off, on a page to just look at the visual as opposed to the text, and the text scrolls separately. And then, so some of these features here, where's the one? There is, this article, The Goods. So as you scroll through here, the different goods, you can see the page actually kind of scrolls with you in the overlay of the actual, this is a little roundup of gear, so the actual picture of the gear there. So kind of neat. So it'll be neat to see what different companies do with these designs for books and magazines. I'll go back, look real quick at the Time magazine, which is a more traditional kind of layout. It's more like they just kind of a little bit of rendering issue. There we go. It's more kind of like they just what's going on here? There we go. More kind of like they just kind of took the traditional. Now it's being buggy. There you go, version 1 software, version 1 of a product as you get. I read this last night and it was fine. Now it's being a little bit buggy. But it's like they took the traditional layout of the magazine and then just kind of put it into the iPad format here. And instead of, kind of radically redoing the whole magazine as Popular Science chose to do. Having some issues here, though, with the rendering. That's interesting. We'll look at it this way for the sake of this little review. Certainly some bugs here and there. Early versions of apps, people have reported crashing, heard some reports of Wi-Fi connectivity issues, that kind of stuff. I haven't had those. Again, you know, $5 for magazines, and these don't have subscription options yet. Kind of too much. There's also the free Zinio magazine reader app, which this is not. This is the iPad version of it, but you can use Zinio on a smartphone, on your computer, you know, what have you. And so I have a Zinio account, and here's Car and Driver iPad Interactive Edition. And this is actually, I actually have the print copy of this particular issue. But if you tap on it, and table of contents, and we'll scroll back to the beginning. And so this is where I could see, because this is, you know, more or less magazine book size, and it's easy to hold and easy to read. And I, for one, have, you know, I'm a magazine junkie, so I have all kinds of magazines all over the house. And wouldn't it be nice to save on the paper and, you know, use a tablet, whether it's iPad or some other tablet that's coming out, to read the magazines instead? And so you can scroll down here, and we'll go to the table of contents. And this is pretty much, you know, this is kind of a bare bones version of an interactive magazine. It's just the print version, but then they have kind of hot links here. So if I want to read this cover story on the Porsche 911 GT3, you know, I just tap on it, and it goes right to the article. And then, you know, it takes it a second to load up here, but then it loads up, and you can look at the photos in high res. You can rotate them as well. I don't know if this particular one will let me scan or pinch and zoom. I don't think it will. Then I can go back to the article itself, and I can pinch and zoom there to zoom in to read the text. So pretty cool kind of look. And again, you know, not without its glitches for sure, but even when it does glitch, it's pretty easy to get it back. So, you know, certainly a look. I don't think anybody's quite there yet with the whole, you know, this is going to replace the print industry. I don't know if I buy that, but definitely an interesting alternative already. And with Zinio, you can purchase subscriptions, and they're cheap. They're cheaper than the print version, $7 to $10 for a year's worth in some of the magazines I've looked at so far. So hopefully these iPad-specific kind of app versions of the magazines will come down in price pretty soon as well. Another obvious use, you know, for the tablet will be for drawing and taking notes and that kind of thing. So here's a very inexpensive painting app I downloaded called Doodle Buddy, and it's got some UI things that I don't really like about it, but you know, you can draw on the screen and then draw in another color. I don't even, I'm drawing here something abstract, and then I can use these stamps, and I can put in a whole bunch of stamps. I'll put a bunch of dog paws all over the place, and you know, great, it's just a little doodle app. You can do a background behind it and whatever, and then you can save them or you can email them off. Something, you know, perhaps a little more productive, Adobe Ideas. There was another app here. You know, you get the idea. There's a ton of apps. The Epicurious app is very cool. We'll do a review on that. There's this one called, you know, Accordion, which is an accordion app, which I'm no accordion player, but you know, multi-touch. You get the idea. The NPR news apps obviously are going to be a big deal. We talked about the magazines and newspapers and e-reader and stuff, but then also, you know, news-specific apps. The NPR app is very cool. Whatever you think of NPR's content, whether you're a fan or not, I think they did a nice job of designing the app because, oh, look, it crashed. Because when it runs, it lets you kind of browse through NPR stories and get kind of the combination of text and images and sound kind of all at once. So if we do, Ravi Shankar just turned 90, so let's look at the Ravi Shankar interview. And what we can do, we'll put this down into widescreen mode, and so we can listen now to the story. And you have, you know, there's an ad. Everybody needs ads. They gotta fund all this development, and then you're gonna want to have your cleaning cloth handy to get those. That oleophobic fingerprint resistive coating only does so much, man, and it doesn't really do all that much. Anyway, so we'll close this. We'll go back to the actual story. And so now I've got the audio of the story playing on the bottom, and then I can go through the story itself, or I can look at a different story. Go back, read the story, Look at the video, the photos rather of Ravi. Happy birthday, master sitar player, done a lot for bringing Indian music. Right there it says it, bringing Indian classical music into the West, but he really has. You've probably heard Ravi Shankar even if you didn't know it. Anyway, point being, just kind of, a neat combination of melding the media. And again, it's nothing that you can't do on a computer, on a laptop computer, desktop computer, but the whole tablet thing is just so neat and it's such a compelling experience. And I think Apple just really nailed it in terms of the user experience and making it intuitive. And there will be other tablets. There are other tablets out there, but my whole thing is that this was built off of a touchscreen OS. It was built off of iPhone OS, which was made for a touchscreen device from the ground up, as opposed to something that's been, built for a desktop computer, laptop computer, and then sort of try and shrink it and retrofit it. And then trying to shrink it and retrofit it to fit a tablet computer instead of being built on the whole, touching and swiping and gesturing and that whole thing. And so, so far, I just think it's a really cool device. I don't think it's something that anybody necessarily has to run out and buy, like I said, but I think you will find all sorts of neat applications for it and maybe something that's compelling to you. And some of it will be neat and fun, like, this music sequencer program. And some of it will be, productive and compelling medical apps and using this out in the field, and students, once they get the whole note-taking thing put into, the e-reader apps and that kind of stuff. So, all kinds of applications. I'm just psyched to see tablet computing, whatever you think of, and here we'll shake to erase these patterns. So, whatever you think of Apple and iPad or, the whole App Store thing or whatever else, it's just cool to see tablet computing starting to hit the mainstream because I think there's just so much potential for neat stuff. I keep saying neat, but I do think it's neat. So there you go. It's kind of a, it's a review, but it's really just the leaping off point for talking about, with iPad again, I think the apps are going to be huge. And with tablet computing in general and what that's going to mean to mobile computing and, you could see somebody, instead of having a smartphone, having just a regular phone and a tablet, or maybe both, or maybe for some people they won't need a laptop, or, who knows. It's neat stuff, and it's why I like covering technology, because it's fun, and I don't think you have to take sides. You don't have to hate Google because you like Apple, or back and forth, or this or that, whatever. Just enjoy it all. Enjoy it. Yeah, if you don't like it, move on. No need to fight about it. So there you go. We'll have a lot more coverage of the iPad and the other tablets coming out, the NVIDIA Tegras and the Dell Androids and everything else on PhoneDog.com and our other sites, today'siPhone.com, droiddog.com, bberrydog.com, and, app reviews, accessory reviews, all that stuff. All right, till next time, I'm Noah from PhoneDog.com. Thank you so much for watching. And, sound off in the comments, but be nice to each other. There's no need to fight to express your opinions. You know what I'm saying? We'll see you later. Bye-bye.